This is Colin Dixon with nScreen Media, and I'm with Bhavesh Vagalia, who is CEO of Singular Decisions, and we are doing a sort of follow-up to our couple of other videos we've recorded, right, Bhavesh?
Absolutely. Talking about churn today.
We are talking about churn, and we have done two webinars already, one on acquisition and another on growth. And these have really been focused on the psychology of subscribers. And you have done some remarkable research here, Bhavesh, and we want to get into churn today. But I just want to let everybody know who's listening to the video that you can actually tune in live on Monday, October 19th at 12 noon for a Let's Do Lunch session discussing the psychology of the subscriber as it pertains to churn. So you should join us then, and I'll make sure to include a link with this video. But we're going to give you a little snippet today, and we're going to talk about the problem with churn is it's not a single decision, is it, Bhavesh? It takes place over a long period of time, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, throughout the whole series, we've used the analogy of a relationship that you have with another human being as part of the same sort of relationship you have with a OTT service. So when you think about churn, it's a bit like getting a divorce, right? So when you're getting divorced, it's not the last argument that causes a divorce. It's actually years or potentially months and years worth of, negative feelings that get built up over time. And in particular, if the relationship's a long one, then that kind of grates over a period of time. So eventually that's the reason why, it's almost like a straw that broke the camel's back, right? That's the reason why you left. But if you look back, that's been festering for a number of years beforehand. And in terms of OTT, of course, you're paying money every month. So there's an added layer that I'm actually financially paying for this.
So what sort of behaviors have caused this rift that got us to this place where they eventually decide to leave?
So, I mean, there's a lot of views, and from the research, you can see a whole number of different areas associated with that. So if you think about the moment somebody signs up and joins the service, that's when they're the most happiest. But actually, if you don't treat them well at that point, if you're not providing them with the right information, you're not guiding them through the journey, if you're not listening, because most brands tend to shout about how amazing they are. We talk about in the research about that narcissistic qualities. But really it's about turning that on its head and trying to listen to your customers more, trying to react more, trying to give praise as much as anything else. So it's about that connection over a period of time.
Right. So let's talk about churn then, because they're about to churn or they're going to churn. One of the big reasons for that is this reciprocity bonus, very difficult to say, bias. Tell us about that.
I had the same situation when I was reading that word. I'm like, how do you say this? So I get it completely. So, it's, from a psychological point of view, human beings have this view or have this makeup of, the best way I can describe it is give and take, right? So we'd like to give and we'd like to receive. So when the relationship is unbalanced, one person's giving more than receiving. So the idea is that in a long-term relationship, if one person is constantly giving, in the case of OTT brand, for example, we as a consumer is always paying, but we're not getting anything in return that's beyond just the content, then the balance starts to shift. And over a period of time, us as human beings and individuals, we start to resent that. And that's ultimately one of the reasons why we end up driving towards, I want to leave, or effectively on a divorce from that relationship.
So what are a couple of the things that companies can do to avoid even getting to this point?
So, I think there's a number of things. So if you get to this point and you are going to churn, it's counterintuitive, and the reality is making it as easy as possible for a customer to leave. Because actually, if you give a positive experience at the point of leaving, that person's more likely to come back in a positive way. So there's things like that which you can do. You can try and make it very flexible for the customer to change packages, interact, make decisions. As part of the research, one of the fundamental things that we talk about is human beings want that idea of connectedness and freedom. So we want to be free, but we also want to feel connected. So the idea that give me my freedom so I can go in, choose when I want to leave, make it very simple for me to leave, and, you know, to a certain degree, not make it, you know, we know a lot of brands that will try and interrogate you every time you want to leave. Well, try not to do that. Try and make it a simple process. One of the things that came out in the research, especially from the psychological aspect, is the negative experience tends to outweigh the positive experience. So if you leave with a positive experience, you're going to get that kind of glowing, almost brand advocacy, which is odd considering I'm leaving. So It's about trying to make sure you maintain your brand values throughout the journey, even when you're leaving that service.
Right. So I know we've just scratched the subject of this topic, and we're going to be dealing with a lot more in the webinar on October 19th at noon Pacific. So I hope people can join us there, because we'll be talking about not only about the churn issue in more depth, but more importantly, how you win them back and what the psychology is going on behind that. We'll have psychologists on hand and you can get your questions answered. So, Bhavesh, as usual, fascinating conversation. And hopefully people will join us on October 19th, right?
No, thank you very much, Colin. It is, this research it's most OTT brands care about churn, right? That's the one thing they care about. So, it's interesting to think about, as we said, things you can do beforehand and things you can do during this process that will help your subscribers. So, yeah, do tune in. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Very good. And we'll give you details on how you can pick up the white paper that covers this and all of the topics we've talked about in this season right then. So this has been Colin Dixon with nScreen Media. We'll see you again next time.